Hi, it's Tom, and joining me today is Rich.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. You've had a pretty busy week, haven't you?
2 weeks really. Beginning of last week, Monday, I went to see Project Scorpio at the Redmond campus in Seattle, and then I came back, and then we had EGX Rezzed, where we did the Future of Game Technology panel, and I tried not to tell everybody about Project Scorpio.
Yeah, I saw you biting your lip a couple of times in there.
Yeah, it was the bit where Ollie Welsh, editor of Eurogamer, said, "So, tell me about Project Scorpio," and it was like, thanks for that.
I can't really do that.
Well, there were a few hints in there. But yeah, and then obviously we had to come back, shoot some video, write some words, and well, here we are. We sort of broke the internet yesterday.
Yes, it did really well for us. The Scorpio is kind of out of the bag, specs-wise at least.
Yeah.
And I suppose the burning question is, from this point onwards, we don't have any games to really assess it besides a brief look at Forza Tech.
Yeah.
But how will Xbox Scorpio pair up against PS4 Pro in the grand scheme of this generation?
Yeah, okay, so if we look back at PS4 and Xbox One, both had kind of custom designs, but fundamentally, you know, the teraflops sort of mattered there, didn't they? So, you know, 1080p versus 900p. Generally, PS4 had a kind of performance advantage. And if you look at the differentials in terms of their power, it's kind of the same, but this time in Microsoft's favor. Now, the question is the extent to which these customizations that Microsoft have made, which are kind of unprecedented, are going to have a difference. I mean, you know, what they've done is to profile all the major Xbox game engines and essentially optimize the silicon around them. It's quite remarkable stuff. Unprecedented, could only be done with a mid-generation refresh where you've got actual code that you can work with. So, yeah.
And that's unprecedented for this generation or in any generation to have a look at game code before designing a console.
That's right, yeah, because, you know, the bottom line is that Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, whoever, they make the console, and then the developers write code for it, you know, when it's done. This time around, you know, Scorpio is essentially like, think of it as a 4K extension of Xbox One. So, you know, they want those engines optimal, and the way they do that is to look at the code and then think, well, what do we need to get to native 4K? And that's kind of their approach there. Now, the extent to which it will be successful remains to be seen, but we have seen, obviously, Forza Tech, which is the Forza 6 engine essentially running on Scorpio, and it is 4K, 60 frames per second, sort of 20 to 30% additional overhead left over. It's remarkable.
That is staggering, and it shows the way for what we might expect, although this is a very optimized engine, what we might expect from other first-party titles and third parties as well.
Yeah, I mean, first-party have all been optimized for Xbox One specifically, so I'm expecting huge boosts there. I think there's a strong possibility that all of the recent games that have got 4K optimized assets for the PC, so we're looking at, you know, Forza Horizon 3, Gears of War 4, Gears Ultimate, possibly even Rise of the Tomb Raider. All of those games, I fully expect that work won't just be left dormant and, you know, for PC users only. I do expect it to be sort of patched up and bundled for Scorpio owners there, and I think that's really exciting. But the third-party stuff, that is really kind of the crux of the matter, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, we've made a name for doing face-offs over the years, and this is really where it's going to boil down to, you know, the games that maybe couldn't hit 60 or where there's dynamic resolutions or there's shortcomings in any way on PS4 Pro.
Yeah, so developers don't really want to have differences between their game. They've got an overall sort of vision for how it's going to look and how it's going to run. So, you know, typically resolution was the easy way to bridge the gap, and obviously there may have been slight performance differences. Well, obviously varies on a game-by-game basis. And I think what we can expect to see similar things for the 4K era from the 4K consoles. One thing where I think the Scorpio clearly has a big advantage is memory allocation. So what we're seeing there is an extra 4 gigs of memory, extra 3 gigs available to game makers, and this results in, well, plenty of space for 4K textures. Right. And the PS4 Pro is kind of disadvantaged in that area. On a technical level, memory bandwidth is something that Pro developers I've spoke to have been sort of struggling with because there isn't a huge boost over base PS4. obviously Microsoft have got a huge boost there, 326 gigabytes per
Yeah,
second.
it's remarkable. Yeah.
Which is huge. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to be interested to see how it turns out because Microsoft's pitch is for native 4K, and which is great. But on the flip side, Pro's been looking pretty good on a lot of games. You look at Horizon Zero Dawn, it looks awesome, even though it's not strictly speaking true 4K. Checkerboarding, temporal super sampling, it's all good. You know, it really does help. I mean, obviously, though, we sometimes see like soft presentations. If Scorpio is kind of less soft, crisper, then that's kind of only a good thing.
Yeah, and there's also the other breed of game where they didn't use checkerboarding, but they used the dynamic resolution. So we've got Diablo 3.
Yeah.
I think Battlefield 1 as well used dynamic up to about 1440p. Diablo 3 used it up to 4K, so you had a range between 1080p and 4K on PS4 Pro. And it was quite amazing to see it ramp up and down depending on the intensity of the scene.
Well, you know, I think dynamic resolution scaling is pretty awesome. I mean, some of the games we've seen using it on Pro have done really, really well. Battlefield 1 actually went up to like 1650 or something, and that's good. I mean, this is a really good technique because essentially it scales according to the power of the console, and it doesn't actually look that bad at all.
No, it holds up pretty well. You've got to ask yourself, what is the perceptible difference between a native 4K and the techniques the PS4 Pro used in order to achieve a 4K output?
Got to remember though, there's a lot of Pro games that are just straight 1440p, and that's kind of you see an improvement on a 4K screen, but it's not optimal. You know, it's not the best use of the display, and you know, hopefully, what I'm kind of hoping is that with the arrival of Scorpio, we'll see more effort put into these 4K modes, because a lot of them just seem to have been kind of sort of throwaway implementations. I mean, Overwatch is the classic case in point.
Yeah, that was a disappointing one. Yeah, only 4K HUDs. Last time I checked, anyway, it was 4K HUDs and 1080p native.
And then we've seen
gameplay.
titles like The Division and Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which have required multiple iterations to get to where they are now. Started off looking not that great.
And then we've got another case where I suppose it's more about the frame rate and the performance. A couple of interesting cases actually. Final Fantasy 15 came with 2 modes built into the game, one of which was a light mode, which ran at 1080p, but it was unlocked. I think last time we checked, it's unlocked.
They unlocked it, didn't they, and ruined John's day.
Yeah. So my thinking is Scorpio's got the horsepower to now maybe bridge that gap to a full 60.
It depends. I mean, yes, in many ways, but it is literally only 200 megahertz faster than the CPU in the Pro.
Right.
So I wouldn't be expecting miracles. I mean, obviously you get more out of that 200 megahertz than you do on a PC, I would say. If you look at what Assassin's Creed Unity in boost mode on PS4 Pro is doing, you know, it's like a revelatory increase in performance there, just from the CPU bumps. That was 1.6 to 2.1. So that was pretty good, obviously. I mean, the more CPU power you've got, the better. But, you know, I think the thing to bear in mind is that many engines are built for 30 frames per second. So John and I went to see Guerrilla Games in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago. Awesome trip. We'll have some more coverage on that soon. But, you know, that engine is designed for 30 frames per second, okay? And you might think, well, you know, CPU's maybe not doing much in this particular scenario. Well, it's an open world game. What's happening is they use all the spare CPU cycles in a 30 frames per second sort of time slice, 33 millisecond time slice, to preemptively spool in new assets from the open world in the direction you're heading. So this is a game that's been, you know, that's got an awesome performance level, awesome in terms of consistency, 30 frames per second, because it is designed to do that. You can't brute force that up to 60 unless you've got, like, you know, a PC version that's massively faster.
Right. So for games that are inherently designed to run at 30 in this generation, we're not going to see a jump to 60, because ultimately CPU has only gone from, well, it's a 2.1 on Pro and 2.3 on Scorpio.
Yeah, it's a 31% boot. So, I mean, you know, here's the thing. Xbox One versus Scorpio, you've got something like a 4.6 boost in 4.6x boost in GPU performance.
Yeah.
And 1.31 on CPU, so that it's the stats there are just plain and clear. The emphasis is on getting existing engines scaling to 4K, whether they're at 1080p, and obviously the surprising thing from my perspective was that they're actually targeting 900p engines to run at native 4K as well.
It's an even bigger jump. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, it's like something like 5.7, something like that, just off the top of my head. That's a huge boost in pixel count, but fundamentally, it doesn't actually scale. You don't need 4 times the amount of compute to do 4 times the amount of resolution, or even 5. I think though fundamentally the issue is that you're not going to be getting a 30 to 60 frames per second boost as standard. I mean, they came up with one example when I spoke to Microsoft about possibly a 900p 30 engine on DX12 moving across to Scorpio and running at 1080-60 with all the bells and whistles. But it's going to require, obviously it depends on how much CPU overhead is left on the original title to begin with, the extent to which it actually works, with the extra horsepower. I would just say don't go in expecting 60 frames per second.
Right, well, that's fair enough. So Just Cause 3 won't magically run at a higher frame rate, 60 or something. It's just going to be...
Just Cause 3 is an interesting one because, that bottlenecks on every single thing.
Yeah.
Physics, explosions, which suggests a bandwidth limitation there in terms of fill rate. So that's going to be probably our first game that we check out on back compat.
It was the first one that came to my mind for sure.
Yeah, because obviously there are so many bottlenecks there. You have to kind of wonder, how Scorpio is going to cope there. I mean, it already had Xbox One already had a CPU advantage there. Not sure that was fully borne out in the actual comparison, but who knows? So we just have to check that one out, see what we're going to do there. Obviously, when the time comes, we will be all over back compat on Scorpio and to see exactly what it does. The one that I'm always fascinated by, The Witcher 3, because they were talking about dynamic res on that one.
Yeah, we checked everywhere. It was 900p pretty much all through the game.
Even looking at the sky.
Even looking at the sky, because we get edge counts based on, straight vertices. So usually you look at like a rooftop or a block of wood and use the sky to contrast against it. So
yeah, well, the main thing about looking at the sky is that you're literally drawing almost nothing. So if there is a dynamic scaler based on GPU load, it shouldn't be loaded at all, and you should see full resolution.
We did see 1080p on the title screen,
which is a video.
Yeah,
turns out. So yeah, there is that. And the other thing, of course, is we looked at The Witcher 3 for boost mode. And
not much of a gain there.
Not much of a gain at all because of that optimization they did. And it's really interesting because we were kind of went in there thinking it was glitching quite badly and could do better, but we were kind of possibly thinking about performance on earlier patches and launch code. But by the time they did Blood and Wine, they actually resolved that quite nicely.
It's true. So one of the burning questions I've got left is, can we consider the Xbox Scorpio as a mid-generation refresh, or is it more in line with a full generational leap? Because, of course, Sony has been pretty clear where they stand on this with PS4 Pro. It's, they'll let us know when PS4 5 is here. It'll have a new CPU, it'll be a complete architectural revamp. But in Microsoft's case, it feels like there's a bit more fluidity between all the platforms they're serving with the Windows platform they've got going and Xbox One, Xbox Scorpio.
Well, here's the thing, right? Scorpio is designed to be a 4K games console running current generation engines, okay? So that effectively rules out a next-gen console. But it's kind of been designed to be able to run 4K versions of games that are running on 1080p on PS4 and 900p on Xbox One. So, okay, so you've got like PlayStation 4 here, Xbox One here, you've got Pro here, then you've got Scorpio here. So you kind of look at the sort of gap from here to here, and it kind of looks like a mid-generation refresh. Now you look at the gap from here to here, and because of the way percentages work out, it kind of looks pretty awesome, 4.6x extra GPU.
It feels pretty substantial.
Almost like a next-gen console, but it's not. It really isn't. It's just to address the power shortcoming that Xbox One had and to get you to 4K as a consequence. And, again, it's borne out by the CPU, plus 31% isn't a generational leap at all. And obviously in the run-up to the Scorpio reveal, there was all manner of hype about Ryzen. I think, we've been pretty clear right from the E3 reveal that it wouldn't be Ryzen, but, it's this kind of thing. Here's the thing about console design that I really want to get across to people. It's not about the latest and greatest. It's about the bang for the buck. So what Microsoft have actually done with the CPU is pretty awesome. They've taken the existing CPU architecture they had for Xbox One, they've refined it, they've identified specific areas where it was falling short, specifically in draw calls and whatnot. They've hived that off onto hardware, but they've essentially customized the existing Jaguar cores. And that is the way to go. That is, for their design goals, which was to get, much better performance on existing game engines, that is the way forward. So that's, that's kind of cool. I mean, obviously we want Ryzen in there. We want 14 cores or whatever.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
1 million cores. But the point is that, they've got to bring this box to market at the right price.
I suppose it was born out of necessity for backwards compatibility to Xbox One titles, and given that's the case, all games made for Scorpio will have to be kind of anchored to the original Xbox One spec. So it is, it kind of brings us back to reality on this. So if we were to get a true next generation Xbox, what sort of upgrades would we see? I mean, in specs, I'm looking at CPU, as you've mentioned, the hard drive, but I mean, what sort of game innovations could we even expect from there?
Well, here's the thing, the Xbox One and PS4 came out in 2013, but they were based on essentially 2011 sort of era Radeon architecture, obviously enhanced, but the core fundamentals were laid in 2011. But you didn't actually see games with the sophistication of later titles until those consoles came along. They propelled change, So all we saw in 2011 was last generation games with higher resolutions and better shadows and higher frame rates. So that's the thing. But I still think you're right. We're kind of still going to be geared towards the capabilities of Xbox One and PS4. And that's kind of the way things are. Those machines have achieved mass penetration. They define the feature set, but I don't think we're going to be seeing massively improved rendering techniques on Scorpio or PS4. It's all about moving to 4K, PS4 Pro even.
So I guess to wrap up, it has been a busy week for you after all, and I wonder what the mood is like at Microsoft right now that the specs are out, and specifically why we got this information so early and why us?
That's an interesting question. A lot of the press have been sort of debating that. Okay. Well, the mood inside Microsoft is, as you would expect, highly confident because, they're getting some astonishing results back from their hardware. Obviously we've seen the Forza Tech results there, and it's delivering and perhaps even over-delivering on what they actually set out to do. And this is awesome news. And they're going to be doing like developer briefings from now on. Developer kits are going to be going out, and essentially the specs would have been discovered probably by me sooner rather than later.
It happened with PS4 Pro.
It happened with Pro, Switch. Essentially my job is to find this stuff out. And,
right.
Microsoft kind of they've played a blinder in terms of strategy right from day one. The 6 teraflop GPU information kind of started to leak before E3. They took control of the message and they showed something at E3 which kind of whetted our appetites and made us, really interested in it and wanting to know more. And I think it's the same thing here. They've reached a new level where they're going to be revealing much more stuff to more people. This stuff would have leaked out, and they just wanted to get ahead of the leaks and to, I wouldn't say control the message, but certainly tell the complete story.
Right, because, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, when I met Mark Cerny last year, he was sort of quite insistent in sort of explaining how this isn't just PC parts off the shelf integrated into a processor. He wanted to explain that it's smart GPU design. This is what they did. These are the customizations they made. And it was pretty much exactly the same with Microsoft, only this time they wanted to do it alongside the spec reveal. And it's a fascinating story, obviously, in terms of imparting the GPU customization, the hardware emulation that they did in designing and shaping the whole processor. We wouldn't have got any of this information from a specs leak.
Right.
And it's actually really important that that information, it comes out alongside the leak, because it kind of puts the raw statistics of the hardware into context. And in terms of the mood in Microsoft, well, you know, if they're willing to let me in to kind of see the hardware, they must be supremely confident about it.
And they seem really proud of what they've achieved.
They're extremely proud of the workmanship that's gone into it. And when you look at the stuff like the vapor chamber cooling, the power delivery balancing with the specific chip, the form factor, everything is kind of geared towards a sort of certain level of quality which we haven't seen in a console before, and they kind of want to celebrate that, you know, rather than seeing their sort of years of work sort of leaks out with a sort of blurry, off-kilter shot of a dev kit. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely the way to go, and you know, we've got a good track record of telling those stories once we've had access, and I think that's why they approached me to do it, and fundamentally, of course. I don't think the press have really been giving that much attention to PS4 Pro and this transition from to a sort of mid-gen refresh.
It got a bit lost in the, you know, we put out our comparisons wherever it's necessary, but the sort of impact has been lost since it first came out.
Yeah, there's not really been any mainstream representation of it, and we've, you know, I think, you know, we're fully behind 4K as the future of display technology. I mean, you know, the bottom line is that 60% of screens this year sold will be 4K, possibly higher, and projection next year 80%. I mean, 4K is a thing. I mean, we've got to accept that it is the reality, and it can look awesome. You know, as you know, John and I both have the LG OLED screen, and it is incredible on some games. I really should stress, I mean, if you're on the fence about 4K, go to a showroom, see Horizon Zero Dawn 4K HDR, and you'll be sold immediately. It's incredible. It really is. So yeah, I think that's another reason why possibly we were invited to see Scorpio, because we are behind this trend, this sort of
revolution
shift, yeah. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how it's sort of perceived. But I think looking on the forums and whatnot, the spec seems to have gone down pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. And I really, looking at everything that's gone out, all eyes are on E3 now to know the more conventional sort of info bites. You know, the price, the release date, the what's it look like?
What's it look like?
Yes,
yeah, that's
all these things.
That's going to be really interesting. I just really hope that they present it, you know, the way I saw it. That's all I'll say there. But I think the point is that definitely the emphasis now is shifting to software. I mean, you know, you can set your watch by a new Forza Motorsport release. That will be out for Scorpio. I mean, you know, no official confirmation, but, you know,
your spidey sense is tingling.
It will be. I mean, they just, you know, it's relentless, that kind of production cycle they have on Forza. You can set your clock by it. It's amazing. And obviously, I strongly suspect that all of those games that do have 4K assets will get Scorpio patches. But I think there is still a lot for Microsoft to prove in terms of the software side of things. You know, Scalebound was cancelled.
Yeah, depressingly. It seems like a lot of their first-party or, I suppose, second-party titles are cancelled. I was disappointed by Scalebound, and there was Phantom Dust a while back, and I suppose Crackdown 3.
Crackdown 3, that is still in development, so, you know, hopefully that will be at E3, hopefully it will be shown on Scorpio. I really am kind of desperate now, after seeing what the hardware can do, to see what is going on there, and also, you know, again, the third-party stuff. You know, I think Microsoft have really got to show everything, and to do it in real time on the Scorpio hardware. None of this CG trailer nonsense. Show actual games running on Scorpio, 4K. If it's native 4K, awesome. If it isn't, I don't really mind. I trust the developers to make the right calls there. But let's see some software. I want to see Battlefront. I want to see Red Dead. I don't think I will, but I'm ready to be surprised there. Yeah, and obviously the first party stuff as well. Let's bring it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can't wait to see how this unfolds. It's going to be a really interesting end of year. Presumably it is our end of year, and the first party stuff's where the real tech powerhouses will be shown, and E3's where Microsoft has to really spearhead those. But for our comparison stuff, it's really the third party content that's going to define how the comparisons roll out, and
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Dave did a comparison of Mass Effect Andromeda 1800p checkerboard on Pro. Looked pretty good compared to the 4K PC version. I mean, the PC version had enhancements elsewhere,
I mean, it was the temporal AA, wasn't it, that helped it along?
Yeah, I mean, the developers are getting really good at kind of blurring the lines between sort of sub-native 4K presentations and native 4K. And, well, here's the thing, Scorpio is hopefully going to have a lot of those titles at native. And yeah, I'm kind of really interested to see how the PC ones are going to stack up there. Because, if they are getting that close, the advantage then shifts solely to frame rate, really. So yeah, interesting stuff to come.
Yep. Right, shall we leave it there? All right, well, thanks so much, Rich.
Yep.
It's been good. I mean, it's been a hectic week, but I think we got there in the end. And, well, good times ahead. Scorpio's on the horizon. It's in sight. And we've got a good heads up with the specs out, at least, to know vaguely what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just propelling a whole new level of competition. When we did our reveal 15 minutes later, NVIDIA released details of the Titan XP, which will be all over as soon as we get one.
You can imagine them doing it with a wry smile on their faces.
Yeah, I did send an email to NVIDIA and said, "You guys," and there was some hilarity there. Okay, so yeah, we're going to wrap it up there. Do like, subscribe, all of that jazz to support Digital Foundry. We're going to have more Scorpio stuff, so keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.